Hello everyone, my name is Madison Taylor, and in this video today I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about how to handle a chargeback case if you are a business owner. So if you do like this video, please feel free to subscribe to this channel because there are definitely more videos to come in the future. So to give you an idea about myself and my background, so I am a business owner. I've owned my own business now for the past 3 years, and I've seen many different scenarios, had tons of different clients. So this video is really from my perspective on how I specifically handle it from a business owner standpoint. So to give you an idea of the business I'm in, we do men's custom made apparel. So we do custom suits, sport coats, pants. We also do some manufacturing on just the ready to wear side. But strictly our business for client facing is on the custom made apparel side. So this video really kind of talks about how my experience is with dealing with those clients, especially if it's a product that it's one made for the client and how we specifically handled that. Because I'll be honest with you, there's been at least, I would say, probably 5 or 6 different cases throughout this last couple of years that we had to deal with the chargeback. And it definitely takes a financial toll on yourself as a business owner because number one, the funds are withdrawn from your account. And number two, you have to go through the entire process of now disputing and fighting a chargeback. So there's definitely more that goes into it than what you think on the surface. But what exactly is a chargeback? A chargeback just essentially means that a client is disputing a purchase that they made from you. So the chargeback can happen for a wide variety of reasons depending on what exactly the client's scenario is. So a chargeback, for example, could happen because it is fraudulent. Someone stole their credit card, they decide to go make a purchase from your business. Or it could be something as maybe they don't recognize your name on their posting statement, or it could be something as friendly fraud, for example. They're not happy with the goods or services, so they're trying to dispute the chargeback. So realistically, it could happen for a wide number of reasons that they can dispute that transaction. But the most important thing to remember is that the client is trying to recoup their money. So there's also necessarily steps that you can do as a business owner to stop a chargeback from happening. So we're going to go through those steps in this video today. So let's talk about what a chargeback notification will look like from a business owner. So the most typical thing that you'll find is that you'll receive an email, whoever the main kind of contact person is for the business, you're going to receive an email from your merchant account. So this email might look something like chargeback displays notification. It'll have specific information on the chargeback. So usually this email will contain the transaction amount, the card number, may or may not list the card holder in the email. It just depends kind of on your merchant and how they like to file their chargeback disputes notifications to you. So realistically, this email is just going to have the basic information in it. It's just going to let you know, hey, this person filed a chargeback. But more importantly, that information in the detailed statement, you have to log into your merchant account. And in there, you'll see kind of a transaction history. It'll list some posting documents and just kind of go through why exactly that person's filing that chargeback. So for myself, for example, when we receive a chargeback, it doesn't necessarily list who the client is. It might tell me some details such as the date, the card number, just to give me some relative information, but I have to go back through my account and try to match up the card number to the specific person so I know who exactly filed that chargeback, so I can just find a little bit more information about that person first. So now that you have a little bit more information about the chargeback, this can include the client's name, maybe you went back and looked at the transaction, the first thing you want to do is to look at the statement and find out what the reasoning code is. So the reasoning code is essentially how the bank categorizes that chargeback. So if I was a customer, for example, and I had a transaction I didn't recognize, someone stole my credit card, I would call in and report it as fraud, for example. So the bank then would hear my case and they have a list of kind of these different categorizations that they can put that consumer complaint in, and they'll pick the best scenario for that. And that is what the reasoning code is. So if I would call, I don't recognize the transaction, they would categorize it as fraud on my card. So that's how they would categorize it. For example, if I called in and said, I made a purchase online, but I never got it. It's been a couple weeks that the purchase was supposed to happen. They would then categorize that as merchandise not received. So just depending on what the customer calls about, they would then put into those different reasoning code buckets for you. So now that you have the reasoning code for that specific transaction, the first thing you want to do is immediately contact your merchant account. So depending on who your merchant account is, they could have different lines of support. Sometimes they might have a phone that you can call into, email, chat, etc. But immediately you want to contact them after. So for example, in my merchant processor, the best thing to do is to get a hold of them is to call them on the phone. So they have a line of support that I can contact them any time of the day and just have that open line of communication. So you want to then call your merchant account or email or phone or however, and you want to ask them how they can help you walk you through the case and tell you a little bit more about the reasoning code. So, for example, if the reasoning code is merchandise not received, so you want to call them and say, "Hey, I got this chargeback. Can you walk me through a little bit about why this customer put this chargeback in and help me figure out the evidence for the reasoning code?" So they might, the whole thing about doing it and contacting them is they might have a little bit more information about that specific transaction from the issuing bank that they can kind of help you walk you through to put your case together. So, for example, they can have a detailed statement from the client that says they never received the package, or perhaps merchandise wasn't described, and then they can kind of help you find out really more details about that reasoning code. So based on what they tell you, they're kind of walking you through that different scenario, right? So when you compile your case, you want to make sure that that case is relevant to that reasoning code. So if they say merchandise not received, you don't want to put any information about how it's a fraudulent transaction, because that's not what the bank is asking for. They're asking for, in black or white, was the merchandise received or not. So when you compile your case, you want to put evidence such as maybe invoices, pictures, text, if you have any pictures of the merchandise coming in, of it getting delivered, receipts, UPS. All that evidence can kind of help you build the case. So when the bank looks at everything, they're going to decide, hey, was this good received or was it not received? That's essentially what they're looking for. So don't make it more complicated than it needs to be, and use that merchant account to kind of help you walk you through and compile a better case so that you can end up winning in the long term. My biggest piece of advice when gathering evidence is, number one, you want to be factual. You want to actually have concrete evidence to prove why you, as the merchant, are in fact the winner in this case. Again, think of it like a court case. You want to be factual, you want to be truthful, you want to have compelling evidence. So you want to have any text you have, pictures, delivery confirmation, invoices, anything with hard concrete proof. Now, what you don't want to have is vague interpretations of the scenario. So you can't put something down like, hey, I called this guy on 7:13 and left a voicemail and talked about whatever the case scenario is. That doesn't do you any good, because it's just a he said, she said kind of scenario. You want to be factual, you want to be truthful, and you want to have compelling evidence in this case scenario. So now that you have gathered all your evidence and you submitted it to your merchant account for review, now unfortunately we have to wait in a waiting period. So depending on the issuing bank and your merchant processor, this waiting period can take anywhere from a few days all the way up to 30 days plus. So in my experience, I typically find that American Express is usually the quickest one to do a review on, while Visa and MasterCard tend to take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, unfortunately. So whenever the case is finalized, what will happen is you, as the merchant account, will receive an email. Typically, it's kind of the same format as the initial one that you receive from your merchant account, and this will say, hey, essentially, you won the case, or no, the customer won this case. So there's a couple different scenarios that can happen after that, but unfortunately, that will be the final ruling in this specific chargeback case. And if there's ever a question, you can always call your merchant account and get further information from them. So let's talk about if you actually end up winning the case, which is the best case scenario. Everyone wants that from a merchant standpoint, right? So when a chargeback is filed, immediately after the chargeback is filed, usually it happens anywhere from like a day or two, depending on when it is, if it's a weekend, holiday, etc., the funds will be removed from your account. So those funds essentially just sit in an escrow account. So if the chargeback is $200, the bank will remove those funds from your account. It'll sit in kind of this limbo account until they decide, hey, this person won or this person won. So that's initially what happens in a chargeback scenario. So you, as a merchant, if you end up winning that case, there'll be a waiting period for you to receive those funds back. Could take anywhere from a day all the way up to a week, depending on the bank and who it is. But if you win that case, those funds will be direct deposited back into your account as they were initially debited out. So depending on who exactly is the issuing bank, there's a couple different scenarios that can happen if you win the chargeback. Issuing banks such as Visa and MasterCard, unfortunately with them, good for you, but unfortunate for the customer, they can't go in and dispute the charge again. So once the merchant wins, it would be you in this scenario, they can't go back and dispute it again. Now, American Express is completely different than all the rest. So if for example, the merchant account, if you win the chargeback, the customer has the opportunity again to refile the chargeback and open the case back up. So although you win, the customer always has another shot, and this could go as long as a year after the chargeback, to go ahead and reopen the chargeback until American Express says, hey, that's enough, you lost, and they can unfortunately open it up for another reasoning code. So if they do in fact do decide to reopen back the chargeback, you have to go through that entire process again with a new reasoning code and then fight it out as to why you should win that account. I know it's a pain. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just American Express is super defensive of their customers, understandably, but at the same time, it creates more of a headache from you as a merchant. So just know that is always a possibility with American Express when they file a chargeback case. So let's talk about if you end up losing the chargeback case. Now, this is unfortunate, but again, it could happen for a wide variety of reasons. It could be something as your evidence wasn't strong enough. Maybe it was a fraudulent purchase. Maybe there was a hole in your operating system that allowed a chargeback to happen. It could, again, wide number of reasons, and sometimes there's nothing you can really do against it. You fought the battle, but that's essentially what happens after that. So if you do end up losing, there's a couple different scenarios. If you do think you're in the right, you can always move to something called arbitration with a credit card company. And again, it depends on the credit card company and who filed the chargeback against you. So every bank like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they'll all have kind of their different process of how arbitration works. So the biggest thing is just know that arbitration does come with a fee, unfortunately, to the losing party. So as a business owner, how they explained it when we unfortunately lost a chargeback, it was a small chargeback, less than $100, but we could have went to arbitration with the client. And again, it's like a court case. They battle it out. You can submit your evidence of why you might be in the right. The customer will battle it out with the bank, and it'll go back and forth until a decision is signed. But whoever loses arbitration, again, this is a case-by-case scenario. This is just my experience with that one specific transaction. I would have to incur a fee if I lost a $500, and the credit card the client would then have to incur the fee if they lost a $500. So there would be an additional $500 fine on top of it for whoever was the loser in this scenario. In my case, it was less than $100 for this chargeback, so I don't think it was really worth potentially doing the $500 fee. Now, if it's a large chargeback, such as a couple $1,000s, definitely might be something that you would take into consideration. But if this is something that you are interested in, I would definitely recommend contacting the merchant account, because they'll walk you through exactly how you can go in and do an arbitration step. It's not an easy battle by any means. Anytime you fight with a credit card company, it is never easy. So just know that going in. You want to be super factual and make sure you have enough evidence that can sway the opinion of the issuing bank in that scenario if you do decide to do arbitration. So let's talk about fees. Unfortunately, with the chargeback case, no matter what, you as a merchant account will incur a fee. This all depends on the bank, right? So if you work with a different processor, it might vary, such as if you have Stripe versus you have MindBody. Again, it all depends on your merchant processor. In my case, for example, I get charged anywhere from a $15 fee all the way from a $20 fee on top of the money being removed from my account when a chargeback case is issued against my account. So again, it all depends. Some banks have a lot of hidden fees, I'll be honest with you. They could range anywhere from $20 all the way up to a couple $100. So it's really important that you contact your merchant account and figure out what exactly you're getting charged for and what are those hidden fees. The biggest piece of advice I can offer you is to go back in and make sure that, number one, you don't, of course, no one wants a lot of chargebacks, right? But the worst case scenario that can happen is your merchant account gets flagged if you're repeatedly getting a lot of these chargeback cases, right? So if you tend to get one like every week, for example, over the course of time, it's a pretty large chargeback. That is a big red flag to your merchant account. So they can definitely dock you for a lot of things and potentially not list you and be able to run credit card purchases that way. So you want to make sure and go through your process and figure out why exactly you're receiving the chargeback. So it could be something in your operating system. Maybe you're not training your employees right. It could happen really for a wide number of reasons. You have to go back in that's specific to your business and figure it out. But worst case scenario is your business does get flagged, and then you do either have to move on to another credit card processor or defend yourself as to why that processor will continue to have your account and be able to run credit cards. So it's really a battle that you don't want to go into with a lot of these processors. They're out to do business, and if you're a big red flag for them, unfortunately, they're not going to want to do business with you and your business. So let's talk about a specific chargeback example in this case. So again, myself, I'm a business owner. We make custom-made suits, sport coats, pants, etc. So this chargeback happened to myself. Maybe it was about a year ago now, but it was a pretty large chargeback, about $8,000 or so. So going back to the original case, so he originally said that the goods and services were not received. But because specifically of my business, we do have a lead time of producing the garments. Our lead time is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And this was made up front. This is always known. When we do the fittings, we always tell the client, hey, it's going to be this time frame, depending on the fabric and where it's coming from in the world. If it comes from Italy, England, there is a lead time to get the goods produced and sold that way, right? So in this specific example, the client made a purchase in December, and then a couple weeks later, it wasn't even the full time period. It was maybe three weeks or so. So we were just shy of our production period. I unfortunately got the chargeback on our notification, and it said the reasoning code was the goods or services were not received. So I had to go back in and compile a bunch of evidence to say, hey, look, these goods and services, they were made aware by the client. We went in, it's still in production period. I had to show pictures of the shipping, everything for the merchant account to say like, hey, look, I actually made these garments. This person is completely filing a false chargeback, and it's completely out of the blue because we as the merchant account held up our end of the bargain. So what I did is I went in, took pictures from the fitting, had pictures from text messages, invoicing, our terms and conditions, our policy that says basically orders can't be canceled when they're in production because we do custom make those goods for the client. So again, it's not something you can pick off the shelf and return. I can't do that because the goods are made for specifically that client. So we went in, gathered all the pictures, all the evidence, all the text messages, and we actually ended up winning the chargeback case in the end because we were able to show like, hey, look, in that production cycle, we were following our guidelines that we set forth by the client. So this chargeback came from Visa. So the good news is from us, the account couldn't go back and file another chargeback on top of the one already that we already won. So that was a good scenario from us. But most important thing to know from that case and why we won is that we did have compelling evidence to say, hey, this is what happened. This is the reasoning. This is all the text. This is all the pictures. This is the picture from DHL or UPS, or whatever the shipping company was that showed the goods were in transit. And that we did have strict terms and policies that were made apparent on all of our invoicing and our websites that clients can go back in and see. So that's really what helped us as the merchant account win in the long term. So as a conclusion to this video, I want to thank again every one of you for watching the video. And if you have any questions about a specific chargeback case or just anything you heard in this video, please feel free to leave a comment below. And if you do like this video, consider subscribing to this channel, as we are going to be posting more videos on specifically different case scenarios from a business owner, how they can help you. So once again, thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next video.